Hey, if you're looking for a wardrobe refresh this summer, may I recommend Into the AM, fine purveyors of graphic tees and elevated menswear with whom I have a partnership. So when you shop at Into the AM using the link in the description, or if you use code Grouchy when you check out, you'll not only save 10% off your order, but you'll also help support this channel. And that makes me make this face. My face is not used to that. All right, let's get into it.
The Grouchy Nerd.
Alright, quiet down, knuckleheads. It's time to take another look at a new hero for Fantasy Flight Games Marvel Champions. This time we're looking at Silk. What, are you insane? They'll come for us. Cindy Moon was a very gifted student, her eidetic memory giving her perfect recall on everything. It's like having a photographic memory, but for all of your senses. You can recall in perfect detail everything you've ever seen, or heard, or tasted, or smelled, presumably. I'm sure there are subway rides that live with you forever. She and her brother Albert were on a school field trip to General Tektronics when she was bitten on the ankle by an irradiated spider, the very same spider which just moments before bit Peter Parker, giving them both spider powers. Cindy tried to conceal her powers for a while, but her inability to control the organic webbing she produced got hard to hide. While working toward a solution, she encountered Ezekiel Sims, who explained the mystical side of individuals with spider powers. Cindy learned she was now a spider totem and was connected to the web of life and destiny, a multiversal, metaphysical web connecting all spider totems. Ezekiel trained Cindy until they discovered she'd been targeted by Morlun, a totem hunter who maintained everlasting life by devouring spider totems. Cindy went into hiding in a special Morlun-proof bunker with very little to do until Peter Parker learned of her existence and immediately set out to release her, some 13 years after she went in. I guess she didn't have any clothes that fit, but she did have a heroic codename locked and loaded. Then there was a thing for a while where they couldn't be in the same room without immediately making out, something to do with their spider pheromones. It was kind of funny for a little while, but it got old fast. It got old fast. Morlun, who had already been beaten and killed twice, felt her presence and came back again to engage in the Great Hunt. He and his family used a hijacked web of life and destiny to try and hunt down and kill every spider totem in the multiverse. What are you going to eat then? Huh? For your everlasting life, what are you going to eat? That's stupid. That's stupid and it's short-sighted. Since then, Cindy learned that she is the avatar of a very powerful spider deity named the Bride. She began a career in investigative journalism, which I don't think is a career you can just hop into, but comics, I guess. She's been involved in basically every Spider-Verse story. She worked with S.H.I.E.L.D. to find her parents who were in the negative zone, still trying to find a cure for Cindy's powers. She joined the Agents of Atlas and the Order of the Web and occasionally serves as bodyguard to J. Jonah Jameson. And I, for one, can't wait to see what cool, normal, respectful pose they chose for her hero. Oh my God! What? Why? Look, I know the folks over at Marvel are a lost cause. That's the horniest bunch of artists that have ever existed. But really, Fantasy Flight, you don't have a single woman working there that can go, don't use that. Hey, do you think it's because of stuff like this they've never asked me to spoil cards? Yeah. Okay. On her hero side is Silk, who does 1 thwart, 2 attack, and 3 defense. She gets 10 hit points and 5 cards in hand. She has the Web Warrior trait, and she has Silk Sense. As a response, after you defeat a minion or side scheme or resolve a treachery card, tuck that card under here from the discard pile. And if there are more than 4 cards tucked here, discard down to 4. So she has the same starting stats as Peter Parker's Spider-Man, which makes sense, I guess, although it's a little weird that given how smart they're both supposed to be, their thwart is only 1, but I love that 3 defense. On her alter ego side is Cindy Moon, who has a recovery of 3 and her hand size goes to 6. She gets the genius trait and keeps the instructions about more than 4 cards tucked under her. Once per turn, as an action, you can discard a card tucked here to draw 2 cards. Well, I like that very much. That means at the beginning of a turn in alter ego, you might have 8 cards. 8 cards you can play with. That's so many cards. First up in her kit is 2 copies of Smooth as Silk, a zero-cost event. As a hero action, choose an enemy or scheme in play. Discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until a card from the same encounter set as the chosen card is discarded. Tuck that discarded card under Silk. Ooh, I don't know how I feel about that one. It's cool in theory, but there are some of these encounter sets that are just a handful of cards. You gotta be careful when you play this that you're not gonna burn through half the encounter deck. You got to be careful that when you play this, you don't immediately go and give yourself an acceleration token. Although it is worth noting that all discard piles are open information, so you could go through the encounter discard pile and check to see how many cards of that set are probably still in the deck before you play this, so there's that at least. Then we get 3 copies of Swinging Silk Kick, a 3-cost attack event with the aerial and superpower traits. As a hero action, deal 7 damage to an enemy. You may discard a card tucked under Silk from the same encounter set as that enemy. If you do, this attack deals 2 additional damage and gains overkill. So you're either doing 1 less than Swinging Web Kick, which it's not bad, 3 for 7 is still not bad, or you're doing 1 more, 3 for 9. And if you are doing that 3 for 9 and you're potentially hitting a minion as long as you have the right card to get rid of, you're doing a ton of damage. You're probably getting rid of a minion and hitting the villain. I like that. 2 copies of Wall Crawl is next. It's a 1-cost thwart event with the superpower trait. As a hero action, remove 2 threat from a scheme. Then choose a scheme. You may discard a card tucked under Silk from the same encounter set as the chosen scheme to remove 3 threat from that scheme. At its core, it's 1 resource for 2 threat, which is fine in true solo. That could even be good. 2 threat can actually be pretty helpful in true solo. But if you're able to then make that 5, or even better, 2 and 3 on a whole other one, that's pretty incredible. And it's a superpower, so Deft Focus could make it free. 5 for 0 is really good. Next up is 1 copy of Get the Scoop, a 0-cost player side scheme which gets 4 threat. As an alter ego action, you can exhaust your identity to remove 2 threat, and any identity can trigger this. When it's defeated, look at the top 2 cards of the encounter deck and tuck 1 under Silk. Well, there's no victory 0 on this, so it goes into your discard pile, so there's a chance that you can get it out and play it and beat it several times in a game, which is pretty good for some Justice builds. Then we get 1 copy of Albert Moon, a 2-cost persona support. As an alter ego action, exhaust Albert Moon to either tuck the top card of the encounter deck under Cindy or heal 1 damage from Cindy for each card tucked under her. Well, I always like when a card has multiple ways that it can be useful, and that second one is really useful. If you can heal 3 or maybe even 4 damage without having to exhaust, yeah, that's great. Next is a 3-cost persona support. This one is J. Jonah Jameson. As an alter ego action, exhaust JJJ to search your deck and discard pile for Get the Scoop and put it into play. And as an anytime action, exhaust this card to remove 2 threat from a side scheme. Well, okay, J. Jonah Jameson. I didn't like how that rhymed. That's really good. Is this how useful you can be when you're not persecuting spider people? Up next is a 1-cost upgrade with the superpower trait, Eidetic Memory. When you reveal a card from the same encounter set as a card tucked under your identity, exhaust Eidetic Memory to swap those cards and reveal the tucked card instead. Yeah, that's not bad. I like that. You can, I don't know, be an alter ego and you don't want to deal with this card, so you swap it out for an attack that then whiffs because you're an alter ego. That's cool. Organic Webbing is next. This one is a 2-cost upgrade with the superpower trait. It gives Silk +1 to her thwart. As a hero action, exhaust Organic Webbing and discard a card tucked under Silk to ready Silk. And she gains the aerial trait for the rest of the round. Well, that's great. It's a static boost and a ready. Who doesn't love static boost and a ready? And while that art is cool, it really showcases just how awful those powers would be. You're just constantly walking around, just... Outwit is another 2-cost upgrade. This one has the skill trait. As a hero interrupt, when Silk makes a basic thwart, exhaust Outwit. For this thwart, she gets +1 for each card tucked under her from the same encounter set as the thwarted scheme. Well, and there's where it gets tricky. Everything else feels like you want to diversify the encounter sets that are represented under her, but this, you kind of want to lean in maybe toward just the main encounter set so that you're getting the most out of this card and Spoilers, the next two. Then we get Spider Claws, another 2-cost upgrade. This one has the weapon trait. As a hero interrupt, when Silk makes a basic attack, exhaust Spider Claws to add +1 to her attack for each tucked card from the same encounter set, and the attack gains piercing. So yeah, maybe late game you stop focusing on having a well-represented group of cards under you and you just focus on nailing the villain by piling a bunch of cards under you that are from the main encounter set so that when you punch a bunch. Ha! And last is Spider Reflexes, yet another 2-cost upgrade. This one has the superpower trait. As a hero interrupt, when Silk defends, exhaust Spider Reflexes to give her +1 to her defense for each card tucked under her from the same encounter set as the attacking enemy. After the attack, tuck the top card of the encounter discard pile under Silk. Okay, so we have all 3 stats represented here, and they're all pretty good. They might be very effective, and they might be kind of effective, and they might be pretty pictures to look at while your nemesis minion beats you up. The bad stuff! Cindy's obligation is Silk Sense Overload. As a forced interrupt, when a card would be tucked under your identity by a player card effect, tuck it here instead. Then if there are 2 cards tucked here, you may discard this card. Or if there are 3 cards tucked here, remove it from the game. Well, that sucks, but in a way that I kind of like. I like when obligations really mess with the hero's hook, and this one very much does. It's going to mess you up for a little bit, and I like that there's 2 ways to get rid of it. You can do the easy one and punt it down the line, maybe see it again, or you can go for one more and get rid of it entirely. Morlun is her nemesis minion. He has 5 hit points and the elite and inheritor traits. He only does 1s in his stats, but he gets +1 to each for each card tucked under any and all identities. And when he's defeated, discard each copy of Hunting the Spider Bride tucked under each identity. Well, that's all very horrible, even without Hunting the Spider Bride, which sounds deeply unpleasant. That means that if you are fully loaded with 4 cards tucked under Silk, then Morlun's going to be swinging for a 5? Oh. The Great Hunt is Morlun's side scheme. It comes into play with only 2 threat on it, but when it's revealed, add another threat for each card tucked under each identity. And it has the hazard icon, so you'll get an extra encounter card each turn. Well, that 6th threat is rough. You do have J. Jonah Jameson, who can help a bit, but that's going to be tricky. Last is 3 copies of Hunting the Spider Bride, a treachery. It has Surge, and when it's revealed, if you have 4 cards tucked under your identity, discard one of them at random. Tuck this card under your identity. And as a forced response, after a player card effect discards this from under an identity, that identity takes 2 damage. Well, I hate that a bunch. The good thing is now you have a nemesis card tucked under you for things like Spider Claws and Spider Reflexes when you're going against Morlun, but oof. And it has Surge. And it has kind of a rapey name. On to our aspect cards, Silk came with a protection deck. And up first is Scarlet Spider, this time played by Ben Riley. He's a 3-cost ally with 5 hit points and the Web Warrior trait. He only does 1s in his stats, and they both do 2 consequential damage, but he also gets an interrupt. When another Web Warrior would take any amount of damage, Scarlet Spider takes that damage instead. Using him for his abilities with that 2 consequential damage usually feels pretty bad. Using him to soak some damage from Silk, that feels much better. Using him to soak the consequential damage of other Web Warrior allies, well, that feels great. You got allies like Spider-Man Noir, who can activate for 3 each time he activates. We're going to see some allies in this set that activate for 2 thwart, which is really good in protection, and you can just put that damage on Ben and keep them going. Ben's amazing. Poor guy. Spider Bite, as played by Margot Kess, is one of those very allies. She's a 3-cost ally, but you can reduce that cost by 1 for each tech card you control. She has the Web Warrior trait, does 2 thwart and 1 attack, and only has 2 hit points. Sorry, Ben. In addition to being another card in the Web Warrior corner of the card pool, she's also really good for that bonus of the however many tech cards you have in play. The OG Spider-Man has his Spider Tracers and the Web Shooters. SPDR has a bunch of tech cards. You can essentially get this ally into play for free. And even outside of the Spider-Verse, you got Rocket Raccoon, Iron Man, War Machine. You got a bunch of heroes who can put her into play for free. Next up is 3 copies of Stop Hitting Yourself, a 2-cost attack event. As a hero response, after you defend against an enemy attack and take no damage, deal damage to that enemy equal to your defense stat for that attack. Well, I like that a lot. Defending and not taking any damage and then doing all the things that happen when you don't take damage after defending is my favorite way to play protection. This is another really fun piece to that puzzle. Dr. Sinclair is next. She's a 2-cost persona support with the Therapist trait. As an alter ego action, exhaust Dr. Sinclair and spend a mental resource to heal damage from your alter ego equal to your recover stat. And you may discard a status card, and any identity can trigger this ability. Well, that's really good. She's an Aunt May that, granted, you have to pay for, but she's an Aunt May that anybody can use. Now, I play True Solo 99% of the time that I play this game, but if you're not playing True Solo, what a fun way for the protection player to also be a support to everybody without just taking big hits. Which, take big hits, that's also a great way to play protection, but I like that this is also just a general table support. And you know who really likes her? Hulk. Banner is a genius, so he can put ingenuity into play, and then there's your mental resource. And if you can do anything at all that doesn't exhaust Hulk, do that. Next up is 3 copies of a 0-cost upgrade with the item and tech traits, Energy Shield. Attached to a character at a max of 1 per character. When the attached character would take any amount of damage, spend any number of energy resources to prevent that much damage. Really good for the defend but take no damage builds as long as you have an energy resource somewhere that you know you can, if a damage gets through, you can just know it didn't. And it does say character, so you could put this on an ally that you want to have in play for a while. Maybe use this to make sure it never takes any consequential damage, or just to keep it from taking strays from when you get every character takes a damage or whatever. That's really cool. Put it on Wong or somebody and make sure he never leaves play. Then we get 3 copies of Ready for a Fight, a 1-cost upgrade, but that 1 resource is required to be a physical. It has the preparation trait and it has a max of 1 per identity. As an interrupt when an enemy would scheme, discard Ready for a Fight to change to hero form. That enemy attacks you instead. Well, that makes flipping down to alter ego to heal or whatever a lot safer if you know that you can just flip right back up and defend an attack. And then maybe you stop hitting yourself to do a bunch of damage back. I love it. And it's preparation, so Black Widow, who's already very strong in protection, can use Safe House 29 to just keep bringing this right back into her hand. Stun Gun is next. We get 3 copies of this 2-cost upgrade with the weapon and tech traits. It's restricted and it gets 2 charge counter uses. As a hero action, exhaust Stun Gun and remove 1 or 2 charge counters from it. If you removed 1 counter, stun a minion. If you removed 2 counters, stun the villain. Rocket Raccoon can use it once to stun a minion and then get rid of it to draw 2 cards. Flash Thompson can go looking for it to have an extra weapon around, and it's a tech card, so it's good in repurposed decks. Our first basic card is Madam Web in the style of Julia Carpenter. She's a 3-cost web warrior ally with 2 health who does 2 thwart and 1 attack. After she enters play, look at the top X cards of the encounter deck, where X is the number of web warrior cards you control. You may discard one of them and put the rest back in any order. 3 costs for a 2 hit point ally is maybe a little spendy, but what an ability. You could probably look at the next, I don't know, 4 or 5 cards and get rid of one of them and tee up your next boost encounter. That's not bad, even if the movie was. Investigative Journalism is next. It's a 2-cost team-up event card for Peter Parker and Cindy Moon. We get 2 copies, but only 1 is allowed in a deck. As an alter ego interrupt when an enemy would scheme, cancel that activation and confuse that enemy. Well, if you're playing with both identities, then sure, it's 2 free schemes. If you're playing solo Silk with the basic Peter Parker Spider-Man, which was reprinted in this deck, then maybe. He is an ally you would want to keep around because when he activates, he readies you, so sure. But if you're playing solo Spider-Man, it's probably not worth trying to make this work with the only Silk ally we have in the game so far, which is a protection ally that doesn't do much. She does a cool thing when she comes into play, but then just 2 hit points, and she doesn't do anything. We get a leadership card, Spider-Man 2099, as played by Miguel O'Hara. He's a 4-cost web warrior with the aerial trait. He has 3 hit points and does 2s in each basic stat, and when he uses one of those powers, as a response, return a web warrior ally in play to its owner's hand. That's great. You don't have to trigger that, but if you put him into play and you have a web warrior who's struggling and you want to bring them back to hand instead of letting them just die and go into your discard pile, or if they do a cool thing when you play them again, or if they're Hobie Brown and they do a bunch of damage on their way out. And if you have Web of Life and Destiny in play, then you're drawing a card from that. This is a cool ally. Spider-Woman, in the style of Jessica Drew, is a 3-cost aggression ally. She has 3 hit points, she does 1 thwart and 2 attack. Her traits are Shield and Web Warrior, and as a response, after a Web Warrior card enters play, including her, deal 1 damage to an enemy. Well, that's pretty fantastic. If you're messing around with Across the Spider-Verse to get Web Warrior allies in play quickly and cheaply, and then you're using Web of Life and Destiny to draw cards when they go out of play, and then there's just Spider-Woman in the corner going, damage, damage, damage. Our last card is 3 copies of a Justice card, Quick Quip, an event with the skill trait. It costs 2 resources, but at least one of those has to be a mental resource. As a hero action, deal 1 damage to a Web Warrior character you control to place a total of 2 Confused status cards on up to 2 enemies. No notes. I love this. I love the effect. I love the flavor. I love that it implies that quipping is somehow a spider totem power. I like that a lot. Well, it's been a while since I didn't care for a hero, so I guess I was due, but I didn't really care for Silk. I like the gimmick, the hook, the putting the cards under her. I think it's a cool idea, but I found it in practice to be kind of annoying to constantly be looking under her to see which encounter sets were represented, knowing for a fact that the one that I wanted to be there wasn't gonna be. I don't know. I mean, she's got good cards. She's got great stats. I just found the actual act of playing with this hero to be not a ton of fun. It's one thing if you're playing, Rhino, who has the main encounter set and standard and then one other encounter set, but if you start introducing a 4th or 5th encounter set into this, then you just won't ever have the right cards. Although I did really like some of the cards in this pack. Some of the protection cards, protection players, we ate good. Protection Hulk players, the 4 or 5 of us who are still trying to make that happen, he got some great cards in this. Stop Hitting Yourself, Dr. Sinclair, and Ready for a Fight are all incredible Hulk cards. I did not mean to do that. She does have a recurrable side scheme, so if you're playing Justice, then Skilled Investigator is really good to get her that extra card every time she defeats that side scheme. And even outside of protection, Silk is really good at not taking damage, so if you're playing Aggression Silk, be sure to bring along Toe-to-Toe. You can do 5 damage to the villain and then maybe not take any damage back. All right, I think that's all I've got for Silk. And hey, if I'm wrong, if this is your new favorite hero, be sure to drop a comment and let me know why I'm wrong and why you love her. And then get off my lawn.
The Grouchy Nerd.